Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of Empower Her podcast. My name is London Lindsay, and I will be co hosting this experience with the founder of Empower Her Network, London Williams. And in a second, I'm going to let her introduce herself and explain a little more about this program and all that it has to offer, as well as what we're going to focus on today. But I'm going to start by telling a little bit about myself. Again, my name is London Lindsay. I'm a host on the Empower Her Network. I am an educator, and I have been for the past 10 years. I love working with children and shaping and growing their minds and forming lifelong relationships. I'm a soon to be mommy for the first time. And I'm so excited to be on this journey of empowerment with all of you.
Thanks, London, for the introduction. So, hey guys, again, my name is London, and I'm super excited about our first podcast. So, I am the founder of Self Discovery, the Mantra of Law, and the creator of Empower Her Network. We created this platform with the intent to bring women together so that we can grow as we're on our own journey. So, a little bit about me. My journey started earlier on into my childhood, pardon me. So I've pretty much been on my own since I was about 16 years old. I'm a mother of four. I work in accounting, and I am also an empowerment and accountability coach. So my love language is women empowerment.
Yeah.
And my goal, honestly, is to help as many women as I can. So the truth about healing is that you don't realize that your story can help educate and heal or help someone else start healing on their journey. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the phrase, you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with that. And just to add to that, just as the Empower Her Network is a safe place for women to connect and kind of unpack, this podcast is going to offer that same opportunity to feel connected and to share relatable experiences, relatable stories, and just for us to connect in a way that we don't normally connect with trauma. When you think about trauma, it's traumatic. You think of it's really negative, it's really sad, but we don't want this podcast to be that. We want it to be a place where we can share our feelings, share our thoughts, really understand our thoughts and our feelings, and move forward into getting past that and healing from that trauma. So, I'm going to pass it over to London. And again, if you hear us saying, I'm going to pass it to London and then I'm going to pass it back to London, that's because we both have the same name. My name is London, and so is London's name. So don't get confused. We're both London. But I'm going to pass it over to London, and she's going to go into our first topic.
Yes. So, like London said, we're definitely going to touch on a bunch of different things, ranging from nutrition, fitness, whether it's just like hanging out, then we're touch on healing. But this first podcast is definitely going to be about one of our new programs called Heal, Reset, and Refocus. And this program is focused on healing from trauma. And I believe that in order to begin your journey and heal from trauma, you have to first understand what trauma is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree. And I think trauma, we can sum up trauma pretty much by saying that it's an emotional response to a traumatic event. And it leads to so many different things. It causes strains in relationships. If you've ever felt a fear to love someone, or a fear to be loved yourself, or a fear of being hurt, so we in turn shut down or close off ourselves, or even attempt to hurt someone first to try to protect ourselves from getting hurt. And that leads into, self-sabotage, which is something that we're going to dive deeper into later on in the series. But this first podcast, we just want to use to kind of introduce ourselves, introduce what to expect in the coming episodes. So again, we're going to talk about the different things that trauma leads to, how it leads to mental, mental issues like anxiety, withdrawing from others, or feeling disconnected. Those are some of the mental effects. And then you also have the physical effects like insomnia, fatigue, aches and pains, and all of those things we're going to get into deeper down the line. But today we're just going to touch on a few of those things. Did you want to add anything to that, London?
Why did I just leave it?
And please don't mind us, you guys. This is our first podcast. We're both nervous. We've never done this before. You know, we're learning just as you are. But we really wanted to do this podcast to kind of just create this community and this safe place that we can all come and learn together, and to kind of understand trauma, and different ways that we can get past it. And we're not only going to be talking about trauma, it's going to be so much more than that. Like Ashley said, health, wellness, fitness, and just girl talk, kind of just goofing around, which we're very good at.
It's something when you think about trauma and when you think about how it affects you, right? So for me, being on my own for as long as I've been on my own, one trigger for me is being on a spotlight, because when I was younger, I wasn't able to open up and talk because I wasn't able to be heard. You know, I couldn't be heard. So I would rather just shut up and just be quiet. So one of my biggest things that I've been dealing with now is social anxiety. So I will literally freeze up, which is kind of what's happening now. I'm just freezing up, even though I'm not like really that nervous. I just went blank.
No, but that's totally understandable. And you just made me think of that phrase that our parents and grandparents have said so often to us that we didn't realize was really that traumatizing, but it was don't speak unless spoken to.
Yep.
Like, how traumatizing is that? Like, as an adult, it's like, if they didn't say nothing to me, I better not say nothing. Like, no, if you have something to say, say it. So, and that is also how, we're going to talk more about that generational trauma, because I believe that's a big part of that, like from generation to generation, especially in the Black culture, that whole you should be seen, not heard, or don't speak unless spoken to. Those things are traumatic.
They really are.
Yeah, that stuff follows you into your adulthood, and you don't realize, why am I like this? Why don't I want to talk unless someone like forces to talk? Like, and that's where it comes from.
I'm glad you touched on that part about historical trauma, well, generational trauma, because there are like a bunch of different variations of trauma. So just to touch on a couple, we have acute, we have chronic, we have complex, and then we have what is going to be my favorite topic, like you said, generational trauma, because we'll get to talk on and about how our parents affected us.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, how their parents affected them, and then see how it trickles down throughout the generations.
Yeah. And that it kind of makes you think like who to point the finger at, because sometimes we'll look at our parents and like, you made me this way.
Or do you point the finger at all?
Right, exactly. Because who made them the way that they are, and who made that person the way that they are? So it just goes back and back and back. And like we said, we don't want to give you guys too much information too fast, but one key thing that I do want us to take away from, at least today, something that I am learning that I didn't really grasp until I read it, and it really stuck out to me, was that trauma is subjective. And that what one person deems traumatic, another may not. So really, in this community and on this platform, I just want us to be respectful of other people's trauma, because there have been times that, a girlfriend or coworker or whoever is telling me about their drama, and oh my goodness, this was so traumatic. And I'm like, girl, that ain't nothing. Like, I've been through much worse than that. But that's very I guess, disrespectful, like that's not something that you should do, because we all go through different experiences and we're all affected in different ways. And something that might seem this small to me could be this big to
Right.
someone else, could really affect who they are and how they are in life. So I just think it's really important for us to be respectful of what others consider trauma and what they consider traumatizing for them. Yeah.
So, ooh, girl.
Yeah, I know it's a lot. It's a lot that we're going to
Like,
talk
we
about. It's a lot. And I guess once we really understand what trauma is, and the next step is to learn how to heal from it, how to redeem ourselves and reclaim ourselves from the trauma, and just looking at it as a wound, when you fall and you hurt yourself, rather than covering up the unhealed wound and trying to forget about it, really learning to let it breathe, and address the root cause, what happened, clean it up, fix it before just moving on, because that's how, like London said, that's how that generational trauma, that's how it occurs, is because we're not fixing the problem, we're just covering it up or putting it to the side, forgetting about it until it begins to affect the next generation and the next generation and the next generation.
right.
Or even in our relationships, we're like, affecting our spouses, affecting our friends, things like that. So we have a lot that we're going to talk about, a lot that we're going to unpack in this series. And I'm super, super excited to go through all of this. But before we give you too much information, we're going to take a quick second to kind of just calm ourselves, deep breathe, and allow you to digest this information. And as we dive deeper into the lessons and we learn different methods of dealing with the trauma and promoting relaxation, that leads me to ask London, what are some of the ways that you like to relax when you're at home?
So, good question. Because one of the best ways that I really, really love to relax is to light a candle, turn off my light, and just quiet my mind.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love candles as well. I'm always buying new candles, and I've noticed that my husband loves them as well, because I come home and candles are lit, and I'm like, what's going on? If I'm not here, why are my candles lit? but but no, it's a really good method to calm yourself, and it just really centers me, and I know that it does that for a lot of different people. So um I know an amazing place that sells amazing candles for just that purpose. So London, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
And it's funny you said centering because centering is extremely important when you
Hmm.
just want to calm your mind.
Yeah.
So at Self Discovery, we pride ourselves in creating a candle that is free of all harsh chemicals and is made with a creamy apricot wax and organic essential oils in a beautiful vessel that you can reuse if you want to. And it will help you unpack and quiet your mind.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So I'm going to play us a quick little ad that kind of just shows some of those things that Ashley was just talking about, and we'll be right back with you.
We've got something to share. We're really proud of our products and are excited to make it available on our website.
Those are beautiful.
Check it out now.
Yes. Okay, I hope that you guys caught that website. If they did not, can you go ahead and share it again for them, London?
Yes, it is indiscoveringme.com. And then as soon as you go on the website at the top, you'll be able to view the candle collection and click right there.
Yes, I think I'm definitely going to make my way over there to get me some new candles, since my husband is using all of mine. And I might have to hide these ones from him because they just sound super amazing. But yeah, like we said, this initial podcast is just to kind of introduce ourselves, let you kind of get to know us a little bit. We touched on just a few points about what trauma is and kind of some of those effects that it can have. And next week, we're going to be discussing the different types of trauma that Ashley kind of touched on very briefly, how trauma shows up in your adulthood and the physical and chemical effects of trauma. So it's a lot that we're going to go into. We're going to go more into depth on. But we're just super excited that you were here today. We are super excited about this podcast. There's a lot more to come, and we just kind of want to close out and leave you wanting more.
Yes, London, thank you. So thank you guys again for tuning in. We hope that you are just blah, blah, blah. Let's start that over, okay? So we are very excited, and we hope that you're just as excited as we are, and that you find us as a beneficial resource. And I look forward to you guys tuning in with you guys next week on our next episode. See you guys again.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Bye.